Molech stood on this pulpit carved from the stone and watched his acolytes sort themselves into rows as they waited for Molech's words. There were low murmurs among them. Molech raised both hands. They stopped. His eyes were owl-like and piercing. His voice boomed off the rocky ceilings. Friends, brothers, children, lend me your ears. We are here tonight to honor thee among the stones and under the stars. And through sacrifice, we can return again. We can return what was lost to us, which is ours by rights. Molech turned around from his beckoning multitude and drew his staff to enkindle the great blaze that was hidden in the stones. And the smoke rose like a fire in the furnace. The crowd began to chant and cheer in barbarous tongues, and to the sounds of brass and drums. Molech's man carried an infant child in his hands. He raised the child in the air to the cheers of the crowd. Molech raised both hands, and the cheers ceased into a deadly silence. He spoke again. Only through sacrifice we can begin anew. Molech's man laid the child on the hot stones. The crowd cheers, drowned the wails of agony from the child, and Molech looked on. The child was turned into gray ash and vanished into that vast crematorium. He smiled his hideous smile, and it curdled into a scowl. He looked down upon his right hand. The power that was taken will return. He closed his fist. Leah pulled the little girl into her manacled arms, shielding her from the horror she witnessed. Leah whispered into the little girl's ear, "Don't look around. Reach in my pocket. There's a dagger. Use it to cut me free." The girl wordlessly nodded, followed Leah's instruction. She took the dagger back and slipped it back into her pocket. Leah watched from afar. Molech's long shadow cast along the cavern's walls from the flames of the fire in the stones and over the corrugated rocks. He stood perched on his pulpit with his owl-like features, his gaze searching, alert and observant. He grinned hideously at his acolytes and looked down upon the captive multitude. Leah hid the small blade under her sleeve. "Do or die time. What's your name?" she said. "Deborah," she said weakly, in a raspy voice. "My name is Deborah." "Leah." She bowed her head in reverence. "Get behind me. I swear to you." She looked around her, among a haggard multitude of lost children and dry tears. "I swear to all of you. We will see the sun rise tomorrow," she said. "I swear it." An east wind came through the cave and blew upon the flames, so the gears has begun to turn, Molech said. He turned to his man. "Get ready." The man nodded and readied the troops. "I seen you in my dream, lone swordsman." Molech smiled, and a small flame flickered in his hand. He enkindled the stones once more. Across the river and deep into the wilderness, black smoke rose from a cave, and the sun sat boiling at the edge of the western skyline. The evening redness had settled the land and sky alike, and the carriage drove on and went by a lion that stood erect and sentry over two bodies. Mangled and bloody, the lion's claw marks ran over their chest. One man's eye was hanging by a thread of tendon, and their blood stained the stones. Desmond caught sight of the lion and his dead quarry. The lion regarded him coolly with his gold gaze. Desmond looked away. "God damn," he said. "What is it, Des?" "A peculiar sight, but it's nothing." "Uncle, are we close?" "We have to stop soon and make the rest of the trek on foot," he said. "The terrain is not suited for the carriage." 10 minutes had passed. The carriage stopped in a forest clearing near a stream. They followed the black smoke and it rose, painting itself against the bleeding sky. It took them deeper into the heart of the wilderness, into the outer darkness. From afar, they saw two men at the cave entrance, in the dark cloaks and armed with wooden clubs. Desmond and Michael hid among the bushes. They both shared a glance and nodded. Desmond patted any dirt or dust off his clothes. How do I look? He grinned with his cocksure grin. Michael sighed, a spinning image of his father. Fine. Now go. Good. Desmond walked to the cave entrance with a confident stride. The men stood guard, watching warily. Their hands gripped the hilt of their clubs. State your business, friend, said the cloaked man. We're friends? State your business, the other man stated brusquely. Desmond smiled. I have good news. A preacher preaching a new paradise promise here on God's good earth. The guard quickly glanced at each other and back to Desmond. Sure, the guard said. You stay here while I escort this man. I'll be back in a few minutes. He nodded. The cloaked man lit a torch and gestured to Desmond to follow, and he complied. They moved about on the stony staircase to the sounds of rushing waters beneath and the sharp rocky formations above. As they moved forward in the torchlight illuminated the corpses of men and women alike, dozen in numbers. They were strung up like animals to be butchered for some strange ceremony, and faint moans of dying were heard, echoed off the walls in the cave. Desmond glanced around the cavern and eyed the man holding the torchlight. He readied a small blade hidden beneath his left sleeve. He cleared his throat. The cloaked man turned and studied Desmond. There's something wrong, boy? No, nothing's wrong at all, he said. As the man turned forward, Desmond brandished the blade from his sleeve. He struck his blade into the man's carotid artery. The man held his room as the dark blood gushed through his fingers. He staggered forward and fell off into the rushing waters of the river. See you next fall, asshole, he said dryly. He heard footsteps coming down the rocky corridor. He drew his sword and adopted a prudential stance. A torchlight came closer to Desmond's position. As it got closer, the light revealed to be his uncle in the guard's garments. Thank God, he said, relieved. Where's the other one? I gave him an edge, and he took the long way down. All right, let's keep going, he said. The pair moved further down the cave until they reached a wooden gate with a superscription imposed above, written in arcade lettering. Uncle, can you read that? Michael Hazel's eyes squint and studied the elder's inscription. It says, What was taken shall return. The divine spark shall carry on the eternal war since before the dawn of man. Before you ask, I have the foggiest idea what this means, Des. Damn it! What is this? All these folks dying for what? I wish I had the answer, Desmond. Michael unlocked the wooden gate and entered first. Desmond came in afterwards. They followed the sounds of barbarous howling and drums, and the air was warmer and moist. Orange torchlights lit their path, and the hollering grew louder and louder as they got closer. They entered the room that filled with a cheering crowd and made anonymous, and then shadowed by their black robes and filed into rows. Towering above them was Molech, perched on his pulpit like a bird of prey. The fire rose behind him, and his great shadow loomed. Desmond hid among the rocks, waiting for one to break from the crowd. Michael was hidden in the crowd. He studied the room. He made note of the staircase leading to the pulpit and the children locked in an iron cage in a far distance back. He gestured towards Desmond. He nodded. Michael made his way up to the staircase. He was halted by Molech's man, demanding why he abandoned his post. Michael produced a blade from his sleeve. Molech's man's throat was cut. Michael moved aside as he grotesquely stumbles down the staircase. He continued to make his way up to the platform. He noticed Molech in shadow figure. He moved quickly, his hand on his sword hilt. He arrived. Molech did not turn around. His sight was on the crowd. I seen you in my dreams. The gears had begun to turn. Molek said, still facing forward. Michael did not answer. He turned around at the bed of stones enkindled by flames, a litter of small gray skulls and bones vanishing into gray ash and into vaporous beings. He drew his steel. Molek raised his hands as if he were to surrender. They circled. Michael's back was to the crowd. Molek smiled. Molek kicked him in the jaw. Michael staggered back to the pulpit. A kick. Too fast. Molek pirouettes, thundering an arcane incantation. Gathering a great winds appear in the palm of his hand. He blasted Michael off the pulpit. He crashed onto the gravel floor. Molek's followers encircled him. Michael saw a blurred visage of Molek on top of his pulpit. He blinked twice. The blur became a man, and a man can be killed. With his sword in hand, he rose slowly to his feet, and the followers backed away, not knowing what was to come next. Michael focused in on Molek. He observed there was a flickering flame in his hand. His eyes widened. Seconds became minutes. Everything was slow. Molek stretched out his hand. Brimstone and fire rained down from his very fingertips. All the years of training and fighting and surviving, Michael's body moved on his own, tumbling and rolling to evade. The shockwave sent him flying. He collided into the cave wall. He woke up to the cries of burning men, crawling among the blackened corpses like some horror in a hellish landscape, a brimstone holocaust. Michael rarely walked forward in this delegation of misery and ruin. A weak, burnt hand grabbed his ankle. "Kill me," he said weakly. "Please, kill me." Michael nodded. "I am so sorry." With a thrust of his sword, he brought a quick end to him. "He was initiated swordsman, like you and I." A voice called out from the distance. "A sacrifice, an exchange that was taken from us long ago." He walked out of the flames like it was his native element. Michael did not turn to look. The grip he had on his sword tightened. "I don't know what you are." He turned and glared at Molek, fury in his eyes. "And what game you're playing. You will not leave this cave alive." Meanwhile, Desmond quietly followed the man to the caged children. Desmond watched him closely. The man had a club in his hand. He rattled the cage bars and squatted and leaned forward, slumped face forward to the cage. The hell? Desmond darted to the cage and found the man dead with a puncture wound to the heart and the girl armed with a bloody blade held tight, her icy blue eyes staring into Desmond. Desmond studied her. Tall, lean, muscular, her hair long and curly and black as a raven. "She's beautiful." "Friend or foe? Speak quickly," she said. "Friend. Be a friend and grab the keys from off his body." "Right." Desmond quickly grabbed the rings of keys from the dead man's waist. He inserted the key into the keyhole and turned and unlocked it. Desmond looked back in his uncle's direction. The explosion, fire, and suddenly an intense shockwave kicked up dust and grime, covering the cave, blasting everyone back and slamming into the steel bars of the cage. Desmond woke up, covered in ash, dazed and confused. His ears were ringing, and his sword was missing. Shit. A silhouette in the shadows was fast approaching Desmond, wielding an implement at his side. He hosted the implement above his head. Desmond raised his hand to fend off what could not be fended off. He was brought to his knees and his throat was cut. A hand appeared before Desmond. He accepted it. His arm was wrapped around her shoulder. She supported him as they moved about in this calamity. Who are you?" she said faintly. "Leah. My name is Leah." "Desmond." They heard sounds of a fight in a far distance back. That must be my uncle. I have to help him." As he tried to move on his own, there was a very sharp pain in his foot. He hobbled to the wall. "Damn it! Not now," he muttered under his breath. Leah put her head under his arm. "We need to leave. This is our chance. Not without my uncle." Leah looked towards the exit and heard the sounds of fighting. She pinched the bridge of her nose. "Fine," she said sharply. "But if he's dead, I'm leaving without you." "Thank you," he said weakly. They made their way forward. The clashing of steel, the screeching of metals grew louder, men in shadow swaying amidst the blaze and the dust. And as the dust settled, sword met against sword. They broke off in circle. Michael adopted a defensive stance. He held his blade close to his chest. That's your uncle? He's amazing, Leah said. He's something for sure. Michael studied Molek. He's dangerous at a distance, and he's fast. I'm fast too, he thought. Take the fight to him. Keep the pressure on him. He's a man, and he has limits too. He dashed to Molek, tempting to overwhelm him with a flurry of blows. Molek spun on his heel and evaded Michael's killing arc, but slashed him above his left eye. This is my chance. Molek countered. He stretched out his hand. A gust of wind blasted Michael away. He remained steady on his feet. My dreams were true. The stories did not lie. You do not disappoint, lone swordsman. Molek said, smiling wickedly. Come on! Is that all you got? Show me something! This is it. All the sacrifice, all the tears. My chains are broken. Michael spat and gripped his sword with two hands. He said he circled his left flank. You're nothing but a fundamentalist lunatic. Molek laughed haughtily, deep in his throat. Talk not to me of lunacy, man. Look around this hell we are damned to live in. That's insanity. You're a weak, pathetic man, he said, aiming his long blade at him. Your life is forfeit. I'm already damned. I'm free. I live again. Don't you know I'm God? Then God, you're in the wrong place. Michael dashed and leapt in the air, his sword above his head, and the dust trail behind him were wings, mighty and wrathful and fierce like the seraphims. He cut Molek's chest in a downwards arc. Damn it. It's too shallow, but he's hurt. Blood in his eyes. He's breathing heavily. He's tired. One more blow, then he's finished. Michael countered and disarmed Molek countered and disarmed Michael of his sword. Michael bull rushed him. He wrestled him onto the floor. He seized his arm and snapped it. Michael rained thunderous blows on Molek, haymakers and hooks. Molek spat blood into Michael and he laughed. Michael kept going till the life drained from his eyes, his face covered in cuts and welts, and was unrecognizable. Molek died smiling. Michael slowly rose to his feet and collected his sword. From the outlook, he noticed shapes of shadows emerging from the haze. His eyes were downcast. He held his sword up. The figure was hobbling hurriedly. Desmond hugged Michael tightly, bewildered but happy to see his nephew. Desmond took a step back and looked around the desolation. We overstayed our welcome. Before Michael could reply, Leo came forward. Is he dead? He is, Michael said. Leo walked to his body to verify if it was true, as Michael and Desmond were making their exit from the cave. Leo looked onward as they faded into the distance. He fought like a man possessed. For an instant, he looked more like a monster than a man, a beast, a devil. Leah glanced around this cave of human calamity. Leah parsed her lips. She pursued the fearless man out of the cave into the dying light of that day. Lost children. I lit the candles, sleep peacefully at night. But it was not enough. They haunt my dreams. Molek walking through the fire among the flames like some ponderous chin to the cries of agony from his burning followers, and the face of Hazael painted against the black and stormy sky, ready to rain death upon me from above. And the land beyond was covered in salt and ash, a broken earth trembling. God watched in silence. I had to endure, and only the light from the candle flame kept me from dreaming that bad dream, that nightmare. On the day I slew Molek, God blessed me with another child, a beautiful child to look after. Leah, another light to foster, another I leave the future to. Desmond and Leah reminded me every day I cannot afford to be careless. Women and children can be careless, but not men. I do not apologize for what I have done to protect them. They will never forget what I have done. I'm not sure they can forgive me. I'm not sure I can forgive myself.